The roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict run deep, stretching back over a century. They are intertwined with the emergence of Zionism in the late 19th century, a time of great change and upheaval. Zionism, a nationalist movement, sought to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, a land with deep historical and religious significance for Jews. Palestine at that time was under the control of the Ottoman Empire, a vast and diverse empire that spanned 3 continents. It was a diverse land, home to a Jewish minority and a large Arab population, each with their own rich cultures and traditions. The Zionist movement gained momentum in the early 20th century, driven by a vision of a safe haven for Jews worldwide. This was fueled by growing anti-Semitism in Europe, which made the need for a Jewish homeland more urgent and compelling. The British, through the Balfour Declaration of 1917, pledged their support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, a promise that would have far-reaching consequences. This declaration, while vague, had significant implications, setting the stage for future political and social dynamics in the region. It laid the groundwork for future conflict, as different groups interpreted the declaration to suit their own aspirations. After World War I, the British gained control of Palestine under a mandate from the League of Nations, tasked with preparing the region for self-rule. This mandate was tasked with preparing Palestine for self-rule, a complex and challenging mission given the diverse population and competing nationalisms. However, the British faced growing tensions between the Jewish and Arab populations, each group vying for control and recognition. Jewish immigration to Palestine increased, leading to Arab fears of displacement and loss of their own homeland. The British, caught in the middle, struggled to balance these competing claims, often finding themselves unable to satisfy either side. Their policies often exacerbated tensions, leading to increased unrest and violence. Violence erupted periodically, a harbinger of the conflict to come as both sides prepared for a long struggle. The stage was set for a struggle that would last for decades, shaping the future of the region in profound and lasting ways. World War II had a profound impact on the Israel-Palestine conflict. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany, shocked the world. It also intensified international support for the creation of a Jewish state. Survivors of the Holocaust, seeking refuge, immigrated to Palestine in large numbers. This influx further strained relations between the Jewish and Arab populations. The British found themselves increasingly unable to maintain order. Violence escalated, with both sides committing atrocities. The situation became increasingly untenable. The British, exhausted and facing criticism from both sides, decided to relinquish control of Palestine. They turned to the newly formed United Nations to find a solution. The stage was set for a momentous decision that would shape the future of the region. In 1947, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into 2 states. A decision that would forever change the course of history. 1 Jewish and 1 Arab, each with its own distinct borders and governance. Jerusalem, a city of immense religious and cultural significance, was to be placed under international control to avoid conflict. This partition plan was accepted by Jewish leaders who saw it as a step towards establishing a homeland, but it was vehemently rejected by Arab leaders. They saw it as a betrayal and an unjust division of their land, leading to widespread protests and unrest. The plan, deeply flawed, failed to address key issues such as the rights of the Palestinian Arabs and the future of disputed territories. It did not adequately consider the rights of the Palestinian Arabs, who made up a significant portion of the population. In May 1948, Israel declared independence, marking the birth of a new nation. This declaration triggered an immediate war with neighboring Arab states, who opposed the establishment of Israel. The war resulted in a decisive Israeli victory, solidifying the new state's existence. However, it also led to the displacement of over 700,000 Palestinians who were forced to flee their homes. This mass expulsion, known as the Nakba or catastrophe, remains a deeply traumatic event in Palestinian history, symbolizing loss and displacement. It created a massive refugee crisis, with many Palestinians living in overcrowded camps under harsh conditions. This event also fueled Palestinian resentment and resistance, setting the stage for decades of conflict and struggle. The 1948 war fundamentally altered the demographics and political landscape of the region, with lasting impacts that are still felt today. Since its founding, Israel has been locked in a cycle of conflict with its Arab neighbors. Wars erupted in 1956, 1967, and 1973. These wars had a devastating impact on the region, resulting in further territorial changes and displacement. Israel emerged from these conflicts militarily victorious, but increasingly isolated. The Arab-Israeli conflict became a defining feature of Middle Eastern politics. It also drew in global powers, particularly the United States, which emerged as Israel's staunchest ally. This alliance, while providing Israel with security guarantees, also fueled Arab resentment towards the West. Section 5. A struggle for recognition. The rise of Palestinian nationalism. The Nakba and the subsequent displacement of Palestinians led to the rise of Palestinian nationalism. Palestinians, scattered across the region, sought to reclaim their lost homeland and secure their rights. The Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, was founded in 1964. It became the main representative body for the Palestinian people. The PLO initially embraced armed struggle against Israel. However, it gradually adopted a more pragmatic approach, seeking a negotiated settlement. Section 6. Seeking peace in a land of conflict from Camp David to Oslo. The late 20th century witnessed several attempts to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict. The Camp David Accords in 1978, brokered by US President Jimmy Carter, led to a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. This historic agreement broke new ground. It demonstrated that peace was possible. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993 and 1995, marked another significant development. These agreements, based on the principle of land for peace, aimed to establish a framework for a two-state solution. However, the Oslo process ultimately stalled, failing to resolve key issues such as the status of Jerusalem, Palestinian refugees, and Israeli settlements. Section 7. The Abraham Accords, a new dawn or a false promise. In 2020, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco signed normalization agreements with Israel. These agreements were part of a broader effort to foster peace and cooperation in the Middle East, a region long plagued by conflict and division. These agreements, known as the Abraham Accords, were hailed by some as a historic breakthrough. They were seen as a significant step towards ending decades of animosity and opening new channels for dialogue and economic collaboration. They signaled a potential shift in regional dynamics, suggesting a new era of diplomacy and mutual understanding. However, the accords were also criticized for sidelining the Palestinian issue. Critics argue that without addressing the core conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, true peace in the region remains elusive. They were seen by some as an attempt to normalize relations with Israel without addressing the underlying Palestinian grievances. This has led to skepticism about the Accords' ability to bring about lasting change. The long-term impact of the Abraham Accords remains to be seen. While they have created new opportunities for cooperation, the deep-seated issues in the region persist. They have the potential to reshape regional alliances and open new avenues for cooperation. Economic partnerships and joint ventures could pave the way for a more interconnected Middle East. However, they also risk further entrenching existing divisions and hindering efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians. The path forward is fraught with challenges, and only time will tell if the Abraham Accords will fulfill their promise or fall short. Section 8. Gaza and the West Bank humanitarian crises and political impasse. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains unresolved. The Gaza Strip and the West Bank, the two main Palestinian territories, face dire humanitarian and political challenges. Gaza, densely populated and impoverished, has endured a crippling blockade imposed by Israel and Egypt since 2007. The blockade has severely restricted the movement of people and goods, devastating the Gazan economy and exacerbating humanitarian suffering. The West Bank, while enjoying relative economic prosperity, faces ongoing Israeli settlement expansion, military checkpoints, and restrictions on movement. These policies have fragmented the territory, undermined Palestinian self-rule and fueled resentment. The lack of a political horizon, coupled with periodic outbreaks of violence, has created a sense of despair and hopelessness among Palestinians. Section 9. The Path Forward: Challenges and Opportunities for Peace. The path to peace in Israel-Palestine remains elusive. Deep mistrust, competing narratives, and entrenched political positions continue to hinder progress. The international community, often divided and ineffective, has struggled to mediate a solution. However, despite the challenges, opportunities for peace do exist. A renewed commitment to dialogue based on international law and a just resolution to core issues is essential. Addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, easing restrictions on movement and access in the West Bank, and halting settlement expansion are crucial steps towards rebuilding trust. Ultimately, a sustainable peace requires a fundamental shift in mindset. It demands recognizing the legitimate aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians for security, self-determination, and a dignified life.